If you came here expecting another video about rice and beans, you're in the wrong place. These are 12 Aldi products most preppers walk right past, and they're some of the longest lasting foods you can buy. Let's clarify what never expire actually means. We're talking about commercially shelf-stable foods that remain safe indefinitely when stored properly and unopened. The USDA is clear on this. These products don't spoil in a way that makes them unsafe. Flavor might change, texture might shift. But safety, that stays intact for years, often decades. Now, I'm assuming you already know the basics. You've got your white rice, your dried beans, your pasta. You've seen those lists 100 times. Today, we're going deeper into products that bring protein, calories, flavor systems, and actual utility to a long-term pantry. These are the items that separate beginners from strategic preppers. Let's get into it. Number 1, Brookdale corned beef hash. Most people think of this as a breakfast item. That's the first mistake. This is one of the most calorie-dense, protein-packed, ready-to-eat canned meats Aldi carries, and it sits in that weird middle zone where casual shoppers ignore it and hardcore preppers overlook it for fancier options. Here's why it effectively never expires. Commercially canned meats are pressure sealed at temperatures high enough to destroy botulism spores around 240 degrees Fahrenheit. Once that seal is intact, there's no pathway for bacteria. The USDA doesn't put expiration dates on these for safety. They put best buy dates for quality. That can could sit in your basement for 20 years, and as long as it's not dented, rusted, or swollen, the contents are safe. What makes corned beef hash special is the fat content. You're getting about 400 calories per can with a solid fat to protein ratio. In a real long-term scenario, fat is harder to stockpile than carbs. You need it for energy, for satiety, for morale. This gives you that, and it's versatile. You can eat it cold straight from the can if you need to. You can fry it for texture. You can mix it into rice or potatoes to stretch meals. You can crumble it into soups. It's not gourmet, but it's functional. And that's what matters when your freezer's been dark for 3 months. At Aldi, this runs about $2 to $3 per can depending on your region. That's cheaper than most freeze-dried meat options, and you're getting real food, not reconstituted powder. Storage tip. Keep it in a cool, dark, dry space. Basements work. Avoid anywhere with temperature swings or humidity. Inspect cans every 6 months for rust or damage. Number 2, Northern Catch sardines in oil. This is where most American preppers lose me. Sardines have a bad reputation in the US, but they're one of the smartest stockpile foods you can buy. Let me explain why. First, the shelf life. Same principle as the corned beef. Pressure canned, hermetically sealed. But sardines in oil have an additional advantage. The oil itself acts as a preservative barrier. Fat doesn't support bacterial growth the way water does. Sardines packed in oil can last 30-40 years if the can stays intact. Second, nutritional density. Sardines are one of the few shelf-stable sources of omega-3 fatty acids. You're also getting calcium from the soft bones, vitamin D, selenium, and about 200 calories per can with high-quality protein. In a scenario where fresh fish isn't available and you're living off grains, that micronutrient profile matters. Third, they're cheap. At Aldi, you're paying under $2 per can. Compare that to freeze-dried salmon or omega-3 supplements. This is real food doing the same job. Most preppers don't stock these because they don't like the taste. That's a mistake. Taste is trainable, and sardines are easy to integrate. Mash them into rice with hot sauce. Mix them with mayo or mustard if you have it. Toss them with pasta. They're not a standalone meal. They're a protein and fat boost for carb-heavy staples. Storage tip, same as any canned protein. Cool, dry, dark. Check for bulging or leaks annually. Number 3, Chef's Cupboard Bouillon Cubes. This is one of the most underrated items in any stockpile. Not because it's a primary food source, but because it's a flavor system that makes everything else in your pantry edible long-term. Bouillon cubes are basically salt, dehydrated stock, and MSG. That combination gives them an indefinite shelf life. Salt is a preservative. The cubes are dehydrated to the point where there's no moisture for bacteria or mold. If you keep them sealed and dry, they'll last decades. I've used bouillon cubes from the 90s. They worked fine. Why does this matter for preppers? Because eating plain rice and beans for weeks will destroy morale faster than you think. Flavor fatigue is real. Bouillon turns a pot of white rice into something that tastes like food. It turns boiled lentils into soup. It turns bland root vegetables into something you'll actually want to eat. You can also use it for non-food purposes. Bouillon makes decent bait for traps if you're supplementing food with small game. The smell carries. At Aldi, a jar of bouillon costs about $3 and contains enough cubes to flavor hundreds of meals. That's one of the best cost-to-utility ratios in the store. Storage tip, keep the jar sealed tight. If you live somewhere humid, transfer cubes to a vacuum-sealed bag or airtight container. Moisture is the only enemy here. Number 4. Barissimo Instant Coffee. If you're not a coffee drinker, skip this one. But if you are, this is non-negotiable. Instant coffee is freeze-dried, which removes nearly all moisture. Once sealed, it's stable for decades. I've tested instant coffee from military surplus that was 20 years old. It tasted stale, but it worked. The caffeine content doesn't degrade significantly over time. You're getting the same stimulant effect. Why preppers need this? Caffeine withdrawal is brutal. Headaches, fatigue, irritability. In a high-stress scenario where you need to stay alert, whether that's standing watch, making decisions, or just maintaining morale, coffee matters. It's also a barter item with value. People will trade a lot for a cup of coffee when they can't get it anymore. Barissimo is Aldi's house brand, and it's surprisingly decent. A jar runs about $5 to $7 depending on size. That's cheaper than most name brands, and the quality is comparable. You're not getting artisan single origin here, but you're getting functional caffeine in a stable format. Instant also has an advantage over whole beans. No equipment needed. You don't need a grinder, a French press, or a percolator. Hot water and a spoon, that's it. Storage tip, keep the jar sealed. If you open it, use it within a few years for best flavor or transfer remaining contents to a vacuum sealed bag, but unopened, it's stable for decades. And the next one is probably the single most overlooked prep item in Aldi's entire inventory. Number 5, distilled white vinegar. I know what you're thinking. Vinegar is basic. Everyone knows about vinegar. But here's what most people miss. Vinegar is a multi-use utility item that happens to never expire, and most preppers only stock one bottle. Vinegar is acetic acid. It's self-preserving. It doesn't spoil. The flavor might mellow over years, but the chemical properties stay intact. An unopened bottle of vinegar from 1990 is still usable today. Here's why you want volume. Vinegar is a cleaning agent. It's a disinfectant for surfaces. It's a food preservative. You can pickle vegetables with it to extend their life. It's a meat tenderizer. It's a pH balancer for canning. It can neutralize alkaline burns. You can use it to clean rust off tools. In a long-term scenario, cleaning supplies run out fast. Bleach degrades. Soap gets used up. Vinegar is stable, cheap, and effective for a dozen different tasks. At Aldi, a gallon of distilled white vinegar costs about $3. Most preppers buy one. You should buy 10. Store them in a cool, dark place, and you've got a decade-plus supply of a true utility chemical. Storage tip. Keep bottles sealed and upright. Avoid direct sunlight, which can degrade the plastic over time. Number 6, full-fat canned coconut milk. This is where we separate advanced preppers from people just buying canned beans. Canned coconut milk is pressure sealed like any other canned product, so it's safe indefinitely if stored properly. But what makes it valuable is the fat content. A standard can contain around 400 to 500 calories, most of which come from saturated fat. That's rare in shelf-stable foods. Fat is one of the hardest macros to stockpile long-term. Oils can go rancid. Butter needs refrigeration. Nuts have limited shelf life. Coconut milk gives you a calorie-dense fat source in a format that lasts. It's also versatile. You can use it as a cooking base for curries or soups. You can add it to coffee if you run out of creamer. You can use it to make rice more caloric and flavorful. In a survival context, adding coconut milk to a pot of beans or lentils doubles the calorie content without much extra volume. Most American preppers don't think about this because coconut milk isn't part of the standard Western diet. That's exactly why you should stock it. It fills a gap most people ignore. At Aldi, canned coconut milk runs about $2 per can. Stock a case. Storage tip, same as all canned goods. Cool, dry, dark. Rotate stock every few years if you want peak quality, but safety isn't an issue. Number 7, hard liquor. If your prep philosophy excludes alcohol, skip this one. But if you're being strategic, you need to understand why distilled spirits belong in a stockpile. Liquor above 40% alcohol by volume does not spoil. Ever. The alcohol content is too high for bacteria or mold. An unopened bottle of vodka from 50 years ago is chemically identical to one bottled yesterday. It's shelf stable indefinitely. But it's not just about drinking. High-proof alcohol is a disinfectant. It's a wound cleaner in the absence of proper medical supplies. It's a fire starter. You can soak cloth in vodka and ignite it. It's a solvent for making tinctures or extracts. And yes, it's also one of the highest value barter items in any collapse scenario. People will trade food for alcohol. Aldi's store brand liquors are surprisingly good. Their vodka has won awards in blind tastings. Their bourbon is drinkable. And they're cheap, usually $15 to $25 per bottle depending on proof and type. You don't need a liquor cabinet. You need 3 to 5 bottles stored in a dark, cool place. That's enough for utility, trade, and emergency use. Storage tip, keep bottles sealed and upright. Avoid temperature extremes. If stored properly, liquor is literally one of the longest lasting items you can own. Number 8, Luncheon Loaf, Aldi's version of Spam. Spam gets mocked, that's fine. It's also one of the most proven long-term survival proteins in modern history. The US military has used it for 80 years. It works. Luncheon meat is pressure canned pork with salt and preservatives. It's shelf stable indefinitely under the same conditions as other canned meats. The salt content alone makes bacterial growth impossible. What makes this valuable is the calorie density and the fat content. A single can contains around 1,000 calories with about 70 grams of fat. That's fuel. In a scenario where you're burning calories through physical work or stress, fat is what keeps you going. Carbs are easy to stockpile, fat isn't. Luncheon meat is also versatile. You can eat it cold. You can fry slices for texture. You can dice it into rice or noodles. You can cook it with eggs if you have powdered eggs. It's not fancy, but it's functional. At Aldi, a can of luncheon loaf costs about $2 to $3. That's cheaper than Spam by about 30%, and the taste is nearly identical. Storage tip: store in a cool, dry place. Check cans for damage annually. If a can is dented near a seam or bulging, discard it. Otherwise, it's good indefinitely. Number 9. Northern Catch canned tuna. This is probably the least surprising item on this list, but it's here for a reason. Tuna is one of the best protein to cost ratios available in shelf-stable food. Canned tuna lasts indefinitely under proper storage. Pressure canning destroys bacteria. The seal prevents contamination. As long as the can is intact, the contents are safe. What makes tuna valuable for preppers is the protein density. A single can contains about 20 to 25 grams of protein with minimal fat. That makes it useful for maintaining muscle mass in a calorie-restricted scenario. It's also easy to eat. No cooking required, no strong flavor that requires adjustment. You can mix tuna with mayo or mustard if you have it. You can add it to pasta or rice. You can eat it straight from the can. It's flexible, and that flexibility matters when you're dealing with limited ingredients. At Aldi, canned tuna runs about $1 per can, sometimes less on sale. That's one of the cheapest protein sources available. Stock heavy, storage tip, same as all canned proteins. Cool, dry, dark, check cans for damage. Rotate stock if you want peak flavor, but safety lasts indefinitely. Number 10, honey. You already know honey doesn't spoil. Archaeologists have found edible honey in Egyptian tombs, but let's talk about why it matters strategically. Honey is pure sugar with low moisture content. Bacteria can't survive in it. It's naturally antibacterial due to its acidity and the presence of hydrogen peroxide produced by enzymes. It doesn't need preservatives. It doesn't need refrigeration. It just sits there stable forever. What makes honey valuable beyond sweetness is its utility. It's a wound dressing. Medical grade honey is used in hospitals for burn treatment because it prevents infection and promotes healing. It's an energy source that digests quickly. It's a cough suppressant. And yes, it's also a morale food. Sweetness is psychologically comforting in stressful situations. At Aldi, a jar of honey costs about $5 to $8 depending on size and type. That's cheaper than most pharmacies charge for medical honey, and it's the same product. Storage tip: keep honey sealed in a cool, dry place. It may crystallize over time. That's normal. Heat it gently in warm water to reliquefy it. Crystallization doesn't mean it's spoiled. Number 11, soy sauce. This is another flavor system like bouillon, but with different chemistry. Soy sauce is fermented and has high salt content. Both fermentation and salt are preservatives. Together, they make soy sauce stable for years, potentially decades, if stored sealed. The flavor may intensify or change slightly, but safety isn't a concern. Why this matters for preppers: soy sauce is umami. It's savory depth. It makes bland food taste like something you'd choose to eat. You can add it to rice, noodles, vegetables, canned meats. A little goes a long way, and that makes it efficient. It's also useful for marinades or preserving food short term. The salt content can help cure or flavor fresh meat if you have it. At Aldi, soy sauce is cheap, usually $3 to $4 per bottle. One bottle can last months even with regular use. Storage tip: keep sealed and away from light. Once opened, it's still stable at room temperature, but flavor is best if you use it within a few years. Unopened, it lasts much longer. Number 12, pure maple syrup. This is the least obvious item on the list, and that's exactly why it's here. Pure maple syrup is concentrated sugar with low water activity. Like honey, bacteria can't grow in it. If you keep it sealed, it's stable for years. Once opened, it can develop mold on the surface if contaminated, but you can skim that off and the syrup beneath is still safe. Mold can't penetrate the sugar concentration. What makes maple syrup valuable is morale. It's not just sweetness, it's good sweetness. It makes pancakes or oatmeal or plain bread feel like a meal instead of survival rations. Psychological well-being matters in long-term scenarios. Flavor is part of that. Maple syrup is also calorie dense, about 200 calories per quarter cup. That's energy in a small volume. At Aldi, pure maple syrup costs more than most items on this list. usually $10 to $15 per bottle depending on size. That's still cheaper than specialty stores, and you're getting real maple syrup, not corn syrup with flavoring. Storage tip: keep sealed in a cool, dark place. Once opened, refrigeration extends life, but it's not mandatory if you use it within a few months. Quick reminder on storage principles: all of these items share the same basic needs: cool, dry, dark. Avoid temperature swings, avoid humidity, avoid direct sunlight. Check canned goods annually for rust, dents near seams, or bulging. If you see any of those, discard the can. Otherwise, you're good. For maximum longevity, you can add oxygen absorbers to jars or transfer opened items to vacuum-sealed containers, but that's optional. The primary threat to shelf life is environmental. Control temperature and moisture, and most of these products will outlast you. If you're already stocked on the basics, these are the kinds of foods that actually make a long-term pantry usable. You're not just surviving, you're maintaining nutrition, flavor, and morale. Stock smart, stock deep, and stock at Aldi while the prices are still reasonable. Now, this is my first video on this channel, and I've got 5 more videos already prepared and ready to go, but I need your help. If you found this useful, hit that subscribe button right now. I want to build a community of serious preppers who think strategically, not emotionally. And drop a comment below. Tell me which of these 12 items you're prioritizing, or better yet, tell me what you think I should cover next. What gaps are other prepper channels missing? What do you want to see? I'm here to provide real value, not fluff, and your feedback shapes what I create next. So subscribe, comment, and let's build something useful together. I'll see you in the next one. Stay prepared.